You can put only the phone here of your mobile.
Okay. Yeah, it's already here as well.
It says we are live. Hello. Hello, this is Virginia from Athens, Greece, and we are live on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube at the same time with Caroline Alberoni from Brazil. Hello, Caroline. Welcome.
Hi, Virginia. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, thank you for accepting. It's been a long time that we haven't talked in real time. So I find it like as an opportunity to meet up over a coffee and have a light discussion.
Yes.
But we have a great topic today. People asked that for this topic specifically. So today we're going to talk about productivity tips and how to boost your productivity. Hello. People are saying hello. Hello from Rio Claro, Brazil. Hello, Gio Lester.
Oh yeah, that's my hometown.
William Casimiro. Yeah, it's William there. Hello, William.
We talked about him yesterday, yes.
Okay, Maria Rosario Campo, traductora. Hi, this is Maria from Lima, Peru. Okay, a lot of people watching us from all over the world. I'm glad that we're connecting people. I'm from Greece and I'm talking to so many people from the other side of the world.
Yeah.
So I would like to create a banner before we start. Today's topic is how to boost your productivity as a translator. Tips and tricks.
Hi. People coming on Instagram as well.
Yeah.
This is so wild, like being live on so many channels. This is my first time. I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled. This is so exciting.
Caroline, we can set up a day per week and we can do it consistently if you are into that.
Oh yeah, I like
another topic and we can go on.
Yeah.
Okay. Is the banner okay? Hello, people. Hello. And we're going to start. This is the Ask Your Mentor Anything live sessions. They are initially started in the Mentoring for Translators Facebook group, but now with the aid of technology, we are live on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook public page under my name. And of course, in the group, starting out as a translator and Mentoring for Translators Facebook group. So let's start. Caroline, you would like to introduce a bit yourself before we start with our topic?
Yeah, sure. Well, I'm Brazilian and I live in Brazil in the state of São Paulo. My hometown is Rio Claro, as my fellow translator there, William. What else? I'm a translator, not an interpreter, and don't work with interpretation, just translation. I work with mostly with technical materials, mostly IT, but I'm also venturing into the creativity area as well, and loving it. What else? I have a background on translation. I have a BA in translation from a university here in Brazil, and an MA also in translation from the University of Surrey in the UK.
Cool.
And I work for 10 years as a translator. I don't see myself. Oh, Carol.
This is going to happen the whole time. So waving us on Instagram as well. That's why we're doing this.
Yeah, good.
And what are your specializations? Because people are curious.
Yeah, so it's mostly IT, but I also work with marketing, business, and the creativity area as well now.
Okay. Like what would be creativity areas?
It's mostly marketing materials and materials for broadcasting, for streaming channels.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's kind of a big deal now that we're going all live, right?
Yeah,
so I think it's a good
and
thing.
Are you working most of your projects as a freelancer or as a business owner?
No, I'm a freelance. I mean, I'm a business owner, but I'm a one-woman entrepreneur, so I don't outsource work. People sometimes contact me through the website, thinking I'm an agency. So I'm not an agency. I'm I work by myself. What I do is whenever my clients need something I can't give to them, I can't provide that service, I try to have a network of trustworthy colleagues who I can refer to. So that's what I do. Okay, great. That's very nice to know. People are saying that they're excited to listen to your productivity tips, because productivity, our today's topic is tips and tricks, how to boost your productivity as a translator with Caroline. And people were asking for this topic. So in previous lives, we have hosted in the Mentoring for Translators group. They have asked us to host a specific, same here, says Gio Lester, okay, to host a specific live for this specific topic. So there is a lot of need to know how to boost your productivity. So we are going in a bit into that topic. We have our most common questions from is coffee there? Of course. I don't have mine, because otherwise I wouldn't be able to talk and it would be cold. I cannot do without coffee. Sorry for that. I'm a coffee addict, so I cannot. I already drank mine. This is the second. Don't worry. Oh, okay, good. And this is the cup I got from my first international conference, BP in Zagreb in 2015. So it's nice to have memories. It was my first international translation conference. So I will say a bit how we met, because very interesting. So Caroline had given a presentation to the Greek Association of Translators, Panhellenic Association of Translators here in Greece. And I had contacted her because I really liked the presentation. We kept online a bit contact. Then we saw each other at the PP conference in Bologna, because Caroline was in Europe for several conferences that year. It was last year in 2019. It was 19. Okay, it's so far away. But we had such a great time, and I cannot forget. Like, we went to the opera that night. Italian opera. Yeah, such an experience. Yeah, and Bologna, of course. Okay, so let's start a bit with the most common questions. We have comments about the coffee. Most common questions coming from our mentees, and then we get into our topic. That's the most common structure we have with our topic. So how did you start out as a translator, and how did you find your first client as a translator is the most common question that comes from our mentees. Okay, good. Yes, I like them. I usually like to ask people I interview that question as well, because what is nice is that we all come from different backgrounds. And although people might not have the same background as we had, it shows them that everything is possible, right? So, okay, as I said, well, let's start from the beginning. Why did I want to be a translator, right? Because I did choose the profession. It was not the other way around. When I had to decide on a profession I wanted to study, I had no idea. I already studied English for a couple of years, and I started browsing a profession guide, to see, well, what involves languages. I didn't have a clue that translation was an option so far. And I found translation, and I said, oh my God, this is it. It was like I was already at school, and I said, okay, this is what I want to do. And then I decided, then I wanted to study that. So I went to the university. I did my BA, as I said, here in Brazil, at Unesp. And then before I started university, I had gone to the UK, and I loved it. And I said, okay, I thought I wanted to be an interpreter. So I thought, okay, I'm going to take an interpreting post-graduation course in the UK, which is perfect. So I would join my profession and the country I wanted to live in for a while at least. But can I ask how long did you live in the UK? Yeah, 1 year for the duration of my course. But before I had visited for 3 months only. That was when I 3 months. No. It was 7 months. Sorry, I lived in Cambridge for 7 months. Yes, that was when I fell in love. I worked as an au pair, lived with my aunt, and taking care of my cousin, my little cousin that was a baby at the time. And then I applied for this course at the University of Surrey, the interpreting one. But 1 week before boarding, 1 week before going and moving to the UK, they called me saying that they didn't have a class for Brazilian Portuguese interpreting.
The specific language combination. Okay.
Yes, and I said, okay, you need to change another course. And I said, oh my God, okay, so I'll choose translation. I chose translation studies with intercultural communication. They had very different syllabus. I said, okay, good. And we offer you some free workshops on interpreting, so that you can have the interpreting side. And I was also able to attend interpreting classes, just attend, not take any course, not take any tests. And I said, that was the best thing that happened to me, because then I realized interpreting was not for me. So translation was
yes. Sometimes life takes you where you should be.
Exactly. So it was perfect. As I said, no, translation is my life, not interpreting. I don't know why. People usually see interpreting as something, oh my God, that is so nice to be the UN interpreter or something. Like Nicole Kidman, in that movie.
Yeah, of course. We'll have some role models there.
Yeah, I think it happens also with literary translation.
Exactly.
People think it's something, oh my God, I want to be a literary translation.
That's nice for those that they want to start out to hear your story. So
yeah, exactly. Because sometimes people romanticize.
Exactly.
And they do not really know how it works. And for me, for example, I'm starting to venture into the creative field, which, literary translation is one of them. But I could never work with literature, for example.
Okay.
It's not my profile.
In terms of the content of literature, or in terms of income, for example, in the lifestyle that you
I think both. Okay. At the end, both, because I don't think literature translation pays as much as technical translation, depending on on the clients you work with.
Or it needs a very different strategy to go after clients, and it needs a very different approach in general. And according to statistics, and of course the literature translators, what they say, it's very difficult to come to an end month, so to make an income from that only.
Yes. Well, and then after returning to Brazil, after spending 1 year in Guildford, which was a city near London, I came back to Brazil knowing that I wanted to be a freelance translator.
Okay.
And but I knew that it would be hard to build my own business from scratch. So I thought, okay, I'll look for a job meanwhile related to languages. And while I work at this job, I already had an idea of building a business, of being an entrepreneur. I already saw myself an entrepreneur, being a translator.
What age? At what age?
I was not young, because I was at the university three years later than the usual age here in Brazil.
Okay,
because
so you were like 23, something like that, 22?
Yes, something like that. I would need to do the
pretty
math.
Young in order to realize that you want to become an entrepreneur. It's very rare that we hear something from a translator, especially because I've hosted several here live sessions, and I think you are the first one who mentioned that. Because we either do not feel entrepreneurs as translators, or we find out that later in our career, very later, in order to be able to make an income. So it's you are a unique situation. I bet there are some other people as well, but I think you are an exception that make the rule in our profession.
Yes, okay. Yes. Someone said here, interpreting is extremely stressful. I had some experiences in the past, and I remember too much anxiety. exactly my point. I was like under too much stress, and I was like, I'm already an anxious person, and that didn't work for me at all. I was like, oh my God, no, I can't do this. It's too much pressure.
And also some other people say not everyone is out for interpreting. So
yes,
I
exactly.
totally agree.
They say it's a different side of the brain that you have to use, and it makes total sense. What I think is the key here for our entire talk today is that we have to respect who we are. And a key aspect in my personal story here is who I am, because I think many people don't believe in signs, you know, Capricorn, Taurus. Yes, me too. So, and I was reading about this yesterday. I was like, I just browsing on the internet, seeing what they said about Capricorn, which is my sign, and it was like, oh my goodness, now everything is explained. That's why I am who I am, because it's like, okay, I thought it was just me, you know. Okay, I'm weird, but this is a characteristic of being a Capricorn. You are totally focused, and you know what you want, and you have this entrepreneur mind. So, of course, this is not going to happen. What is my point is, of course, this is not going to happen naturally for everybody. And it's totally fine. You just need to try to adapt this to your own reality and to what you feel. Because sometimes people say, okay, I don't want to see myself as an entrepreneur. It's fine, as long as you do your job.
Exactly. Right? And so you realize, since you were a student, you fell in love with translation, you realized that you want to become an entrepreneur in translation business. Is that correct? While you were a student already?
Yes.
And we're very curious to know, how did you start, like the first client, paid client that you found as a translator entrepreneur? That's very...
Yeah, it's interesting because it's a very different way of getting into translation as well. So I was looking for other jobs, as I said, because I didn't think I would get into translation right away without being an in-house translator, which I didn't want to. So I was browsing Catho, which is a website where you can look for jobs. It was very common. I don't even know if they exist. If they still exist. It's a Brazilian website where you would look for jobs, something like Glassdoor nowadays.
Oh, okay.
And I was looking for something like bilingual secretary or something like that. And then I came across a translation agency who wanted freelance translators. And I was like, okay, this is it. I'm going to get into translation right away. And I took a test, I passed, and I started working with them. So they were my very first client, a Brazilian translation agency.
Okay. They love your story, they say here. They love the story of your life.
Oh, good. Good.
Hello, Julia.
Hi, guys. And then, I started working with them. I'll tell the truth because I like telling this story, because people can learn and see that they are not by themselves.
Yeah.
I started earning 3 cents of real, which is our currency, which is even less than dollar, way less than dollar and euro. 3 cents of real per word.
Not a good agency. Not a very good agency.
No. But I was so happy. You have no idea.
I know what you mean.
I was working a lot. They were sending me loads of work. I wouldn't have time even to breathe. I remember I was living with my parents at the time. My mom would need to bring me food by the computer because I didn't have time to stop to have dinner and lunch. And I was like doing the math to see how much I would earn at the end of the month. Yeah. And it was like way more than I would earn as a secretary, for example.
That's okay. That's positive.
Which I had in mind. And I was like, oh my God, Mom. I remember telling her, Mom, I'm going to win so much money. And it was like cents of real, and it was good. So that's what the lesson I want to tell you is that, of course, we have to level the market up. We cannot accept low rates. But I believe the person who can say what we can charge is ourselves. Exactly. Because we know what we need to survive. We know what we need and everything. And then after 1 month, they increased the rate a bit. And then after 1 year, they increased a bit again. After about 2 years, because I was working only with them, they were sending me a huge amount of work. So it was good. They were keeping me busy. And after about 2 years, I started seeing by myself that, okay, this is not good. They are not paying me enough, because I always kept an eye on what was happening in translation on social media. So I read blogs. I already had a Facebook page. I had a Twitter account. I didn't have a blog at the time, but I was keeping an eye out on the market to see what was normal and what wasn't normal. And I started seeing that agency actually was paying low fees. And I started to feel fed up with them, actually, because they started...
when was that? After how many years?
2 years, more or less. Okay. And I said, okay, I have to start prospecting. Hi, Sophia. I have to start prospecting. Now it's the time to start prospecting. And and then I started prospecting and looking for other agencies at the time.
Let me know, because this is very interesting about prospecting. So I want you to be very in detail in that. Before going in that, I would like to mention what you mentioned, because it's very interesting for those that they want to start out. I gave a lecture to my university. I was invited by my professor, so nowadays everything goes online at the university. So I was able to give one lecture, 2 hours, in his lesson, telling the students at my university where I graduated from how to start out as translators, and I had many questions about the rates. So I totally agree with you. What I usually say is that you have to set your rates according to the income that you want to make by the end of the month. But always respect the average rates of your language combination, not to undersell your services, and then that makes a bad affects the industry in general. So this is very wise that you said that, because I was very happy when I started out like 1/2 cent, something like that here in Greece. But at the end of the month, I couldn't pay my bills because I used to live alone early in my career. So, and also I became freelancer after I was an in-house translator and in-house employee. So the difference in income was a lot for me by then. So for me, I couldn't make an ends meet. At the end of the month, I couldn't pay my bills, even though I was working like at 3-4 a.m. in the morning, as you said, because I had a lot of work. But still, I wasn't able. I remember though that you said that the feeling that I was so happy. I was very happy because I had work, because I was starting out, because I need feedback on my work, and I felt like I am providing something, the knowledge that I've learned. So I totally get you. I really encourage translators that they start out to accept projects like this in order to gain experience, but to have a limit at the duration that they're going to do this, and also to be able to know their rates according to their income. So it's very important to know that. You set your rates according to the income that you want to make, having in mind the industry itself and not to underselling your services. So let's go to something that a lot of translators, even experienced one, are very interesting: prospecting. Prospecting is something very interesting. So you are going to describe us how you did scale up a bit in your business. Is that correct?
Yes. It was slowly, as I said. I went from this one agency to working with, I don't remember now exactly, but to working with a couple more maybe. As I said, I've been working as a translator. I've been a translator for 10 years. So you can imagine that throughout these 10 years, things changed gradually. Oh. And I may not, let me just tell you this, because I may not be the most capable person to talk about prospecting. But what I did was, I don't know how, but I got a hold of a spreadsheet where they had names of translation agencies and contact with what was very important is like their contacts, the person to whom you were supposed to talk to. And I sent like, dear Mr. John Doe.
Alberoni.
Yeah. And I talked directly to the person who was there. And I tried contacting all, if not all of them, at least great parts, and taking tests. And that was how I got to level up from working with only one agency to acquiring more clients. But we're still talking about agencies, yes, because I never prospected for direct clients.
We are interested to know though, how did you get into direct clients market?
They got to me.
But you did something good. You did something good in order to come to you. Is this inbound marketing? Is this quality of your work? Is this referrals? But in any case, there is an acquisition strategy there.
Yeah, well, I think having a website is the first step. You should have a website, because that's where, if people Google translator or whatever, they are going to find you.
Okay.
But I think every time a new translator, a new client comes to me, especially when they are direct clients, I ask them how they found me, in order to know what's bringing them to me. And most of the times it's referral.
Exactly. So it's the more common answer that I get from people here in the interview.
So what should we do to acquire clients? Do a good job. It's just do your job.
Yeah, there are so many reasons behind referrals. As I told you, could be inbound marketing, as you already mentioned, website, could be quality of your work, which is also the good reputation of you as a professional, could be the previous work and clients that they might refer you to potential other clients. So we don't know exactly, but somehow we can say what we've been doing.
Yes. Yeah. Well, sorry. Go ahead.
It's okay. No, you, because I'm going to change the subject. So if you have
just a second. Let me just close the subject. We have two forms of referrals. We have referrals from other clients, and that's what can we do? Do a good job. But we also have referrals from colleagues.
Exactly.
And this is important because people usually tell me, I'm a social media freak. I love social media. I've been a bit absent over the last few months, but due to obvious reasons, we are not ourselves, not any of us. And I'm a social media freak. And as I said, from the beginning, I had an entrepreneur mind. So I had a website. In 2004, I created a blog. A couple of years ago, I created a podcast. I had, since the beginning, I mean, since 2 or 3 years, I had a Facebook page, as I told you, and I shared content with my friends. So I had this. And also important, I always posted in English. I always had this idea of posting things in English because I thought I'm not going to be just restricted to Brazil, even though Brazil is a huge country, but I have to keep an open mind.
But this is a problem I have with the friends here in Greece. You always post in English.
I try to post both, right? So if the article is in Portuguese,
very difficult though. Yeah.
But I'm not going to be translating things, for example, because these are things we do. These are things we do voluntarily, right? These are things we do because we love what we do. But there is an extent to which you go. So if the article is in English, I post in English. If the article is in Portuguese, I post in Portuguese, and I try to balance a bit. Okay. But it's important to also focus on international market and meet people internationally. So I got to know you. I got to know Alina from Inbox Translation. I got to know Valeria Liperta. Valeria Liperta and Marta Stelmachak were my role models in the beginning.
Of
I
course.
started following them and I was like, oh my God, I want to be like them.
They opened the path, I assume. But
Yes.
you know, for those that have been watching this podcast, these videos, what I've told the first time that I did scale up was because of a referral of my colleague to a direct client, and this was the biggest project and the biggest client I ever got. So to return to the topic that you were trying to say is this, that our colleagues are so crucial in our career because we have this difference in our profession that we can work in different language combinations with other colleagues and in different specializations. So we get projects, we get jobs from our colleagues.
We do. I still get a lot of contact from people I don't even know in person.
Exactly.
I only know them online. So it's like, oh, Carol, I've been following you for quite some time now. And you are the only one I know who works with Brazilian Portuguese. It's not common, especially if you have contact in Europe. Because people usually know Portuguese, people who know Portuguese from Portugal, but not from Brazil. And so this is very important, I think, having a good network of friends and colleagues all over the world.
You've said so precious information here for those that they want to take out the information that you just described. It's so important. Like in a few seconds, you described how can someone start, scale, and even bring clients to their business in a constant way. So thank you so much. This is very important. Would you like to add something? Because my next question would be like, how did you scale up? The first moment, if you remember.
Just a second. There is a Facebook user who's asking, how do you manage doing all this? Podcast, blog, lectures, trips, work, family.
I can tell.
I'll talk about it when we talk about productivity.
Stay with us in a few minutes. Yes. The next question. Yeah, we're wrapping up.
We are going to talk about productivity. Hang
and how
there.
to deal with all of this. So thank you for the question. In order to show your name in the comments, please click the link above our live in the group in order to be able to show your name and your comment in the video, because now we cannot see the name who asked this question. So please do click the link above in the Facebook group, Mentoring for Translators. So the first time, if you remember, to describe us, no names, no brands, just what was the first time and how did you scale up for the first time?
I'm not sure I understand your question.
Describe what I mean? Yeah, I mean like the first moment when you got so good money from a project, or the first time that you made so good money that you were able to live the life that you were always dreamed of. Like, for example, I had been working with good clients, their clients, for a couple of years until I made it and I was able to feel independent enough and reassured for the income that I had aside. So it's the moment that you feel a bit more free. You feel that freedom in your business, that you did it, like if it was a financial goal.
As I said, since the very beginning, what I earned was enough due to my reality at the time. As I said in the beginning, I was living with my parents. So obviously I didn't have living expenses. But I did help my mom with the expenses at home. But I didn't have like rent or something like that, or a car.
Yeah, maybe you remember a very good project of yours that you earned the most money you've ever earned until then, or maybe a project. I remember the first time, for example, to help you, it was I worked for a week. And I earned the amount of money I used to earn in 3 or 4 months. That was the first time that I did a scale up in my business. And the other one was the month that I was able to issue a 5-figure invoice the first time I did it. So for me, it was also a scale up moment in my career. So I felt like I did a step above like I was before.
I see. I don't remember any turning point like that, but I think that one thing that helped later was when I got my first international client. Because if I earn in dollar,
that is a scale up moment.
If I earn in dollar, especially now, guys, my goodness, with this crazy economy, it's like it's of course we are living in a weird and frightful situation, but I can't help it but feel happy for earning in dollars, because it's like it's a huge difference for us Brazilians. But anyway, when I got my first, and it was an agency, it was not a direct client, an agency from the US. They are still one of my best clients when it comes to agencies. I love them. I absolutely go above and beyond for them.
That's nice.
Because they are great. They are great. They are fantastic. And they are an agency. So see, there are agencies who respect linguists out there.
Yeah, the first example that I did just describe you was with an agency. We did not scale up only with direct clients. Might be agencies, good agencies that are out there.
Yeah, there are, especially overseas, I think. But I do work with with a couple of Brazilian agencies as well who are very nice. But when I got this one, I didn't right away started having a huge load of work from them. But after 1 or 2 years, I started working with a client, a specific account that where I was one of the only translators or linguists responsible for Brazilian Portuguese.
Oh, wow.
So it was a huge thing. Yes, I was like, oh my God,
that's a scale-up moment.
Important.
That is another scale-up moment in our career as freelance translators would be the time that we doubled our rates, for example, that we were able to pay like double what we used to charge, for example. That is another scale-up moment in our career.
That happened for me gradually, and I only started keeping track of what I earned in 2014. So 4 years after I started, that was when I started keeping track of what I earned. So from 2014 until now, I've been keeping track and seeing what I've been earning. And I've always increased my rates by year. So I've been increasing because every year I increase my rates with clients a bit.
You had a stable development, if we can say that. I wasn't that case. So that's why I'm asking this question, because I was the opposite. So I didn't have like a stable increase or Okay, so thank you so much. And since you mentioned quarantine and these days, last question before we enter our topic. What is working well? I want the optimistic side of this situation that we're living nowadays. I know that all of us were struggling. I know that many people have real problems. Translators are not those, in my opinion, because we are lucky enough to be able to work from home or to be able to move to work from home, so to adapt in this situation. I know that interpreters might be in a worse situation than translators. Harder, yes, but there is still remote interpreting. There are things that do. Whereas there are other professions that cannot be adapted, that cannot be in that situation changed in any case. So I feel lucky to be a translator. I feel lucky that I can adapt in this situation and maybe to improve it with some changes in my... We're going to write an article for your blog on that. Yeah. How to adapt in the virtual era and to make your business virtual in order to adapt in the quarantine and nowadays situation. So please do let me something optimistic, something that really works fine for you during these hard days that we are all of us living.
Yeah. So I wrote in my blog about this, how I'm handling all this situation, because as I said, even though my life was not that much affected, it was very little affected. I have to admit that I live a great life. I'm one of those privileged people that can't complain, but there is no such a thing as can't complain nowadays, because no matter your reality, we are all going through a very hard and unprecedented time for our generation. We haven't lived through wars, for example. This is our war. So what we have to keep in mind is that it's difficult for every single one of them, no matter who we are and no matter our reality. So as I said, I already work at home, so that didn't change. I live by myself. I'm single. I have no children. That didn't change because I don't have my husband at home, for example. I don't have my kids at home. So see how privileged I am.
I feel
right. And I'm an introspect person and I'm an introvert person. So it's all so easy. I thought in the beginning, great, this is like a dream come true. I don't need to give excuses to people that I don't want to go out because I'm not allowed to. So it's like a perfect situation for me staying at home. But after some time, it gets to you mentally. And I had a roller coaster of emotions.
Okay.
During these 3 months, these 2 months. So, okay, Carol, that's not a positive message. It is, because what we have to do is we have to accept, because this is the reality.
Okay.
We have to accept that we are not going to have perfect moments all the time. We are going to be sad, and that's okay. We have to accept our feelings. Oh, I don't feel like working now. I want to sleep. Go and sleep. This is a different reality. And it is actually something I want to talk about today, because my productivity now and my routine now is different from the one I had pre-coronavirus. And that's a reality we have to keep in mind. We cannot have the same mindset as we had pre-coronavirus now, because otherwise we're going to be creating a lot of expectations that are not going to be met. Yes, and that's going to create more frustrations, and we already have a lot to deal with right now. We cannot do is create more expectations. So what we have to do is, if people are not working, for example, they have to take this moment to try to think of ways that they can change. For example, change is the word of the time.
Yeah,
if they work, for example, with clients that are not sending them money, start prospecting.
Exactly.
Or with areas that are not having input, that are not sending projects, try to find another area. Streaming, for example, IT never stops. That's us, guys. So come to IT, you all. So try to talk to colleagues and see what's working. For example, in our cases,
what is working?
Our work hasn't stopped.
Exactly.
So if you see colleagues whose work hasn't stopped, and or has even increased, because that's the case sometimes. Talk to them, see what area do you work with, and try to see if that area is a good fit for you. Because, for example, if let's say if you work with engineering, maybe you are not going to be well working with the creative area, for example, just like, because they are two opposites. Maybe it's a maybe, but you have to see what works for you and then try. It's trial and error. Starting from above, starting from governments, starting from researchers who are trying to find the cure. It's all trial and error. Nobody knows what works, because it's going to be different now. We're living in a different era, and it's going to be even more different from now on. So just try. If it doesn't work, try another thing, and don't stop. I think that's the key.
We never stop. This is my advice as well. People who have watched any presentation of mine, I keep saying that translation is one of the 10 professions all over the world that they see an increase during crisis. And I'm based in Greece. We are in a financial crisis since 2007. We are now in the crisis of coronavirus, but I've seen my business growing. I've seen double and triple my income. So if I have done this under this situation, I bet that anyone can do it all over the world. So please do see this as an opportunity. I don't want to underestimate the difficulty of this season, but I want to see the positive always side. So, for example, if you could ask me the same question, what did work for me? I had the time to pay a bit more attention to my personal life, or to do a bit more exercise, as I had neglected, for example, my body, or to work on my side hustle, my second business, which I never had the time, or that was my excuse. And no, we didn't have more time, but only the moment that I reduced the commute, the time that I needed to go back and forth from my office, for me, it was a time, it was 2 hours per day or 3 that I earned for me to sleep, to exercise, to do my hustle. This, that depends on you. So see this as an opportunity, do more creative things that you can do, or even prospecting, as Caroline said, because I have colleagues that they say you stop marketing your services during crisis. I do not agree. I believe that marketing should be a consistent process in your business, even you're fully booked or not. And even if crisis people do not buy, they are online. And whenever they will be ready to buy, you will be the first to come in their mind if you are there and you market your service during a crisis, during a period where people are all of them online on Facebook or wherever because they do not work. So see it that way as an opportunity. Never stop marketing your services and prospecting, as Caroline said. So Caroline, are you ready to go on the topic? You would like something to add?
No, yeah, I think we can go, because otherwise we're going to be here for the entire day.
Yeah, people are waiting. So how do you manage doing all these things? Podcast, blog, lectures, trips, work, family, please do let us know.
Yeah, well, as I said, I'm privileged, so I don't have a family to take care of, and so that kind of frees up a lot of time for me. It's easier, I have to admit that.
But still people, because I hear that a lot, still people with no families that do not do so many things as you or I or me are doing. Yeah. So this is not an excuse. This is something that you overcome yourself to be doing. Even if I believe that even if you had a family, you will be the same exactly. You will do I believe that strongly.
Yeah, I'm a bit crazy. Yes, I mean,
I don't see it as craziness, but I get
because I'm particular. Let's see, I'm particular.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not going to work for everybody what I'm going to say today, because as I said, we have to have in mind what the reality of each one is and what works for each person. So you have to see what works for you. What I'm going to share with you today is diversity. Yes. Is my experience. And this is, I can only talk about myself. Yeah. I cannot talk about the reality of other people. I cannot talk about how to handle kids, for example. I can't. Exactly. So I'm not going to do that. Okay.
This is the reason you are here, and this is the reason why I invite people, because I want you to share your own experience. And this is mentoring. Mentoring is not teaching. It's not teaching what to do. It's sharing your own experience as a mentor here. So people, they can find themselves in you, or they can avoid your own mistakes, or they can follow your path if there's something that can adapt in their situation as well. So please do.
Yeah, but I think it's important to highlight, because sometimes people say, it's easy for you to say because you don't have children. Okay, so let me just clear the path here.
Disclaimer.
I know. But another thing, as I said, which makes the total difference for me is the way I am. So I am focused. I am organized. This is who I am. But let's do it. The first thing, I have some notes here, just not to forget what I want to say.
I keep notes as well. So.
Okay. The most important thing is organization. Okay. Organization is key. You need to be organized. If you're not organized, forget about it. So the first lesson you need to have is being organized. If you're not organized, start by being organized. Okay. Now, try one thing at a day that keeps you organized. And how can you keep organized? First of all, have working hours. I think that's a huge thing. If you have working hours, and I don't think that working hours mean, but I cannot work during the day. It doesn't matter. It's going to be your working hours. Right. That's what works for you. If it works for you to work from 10 p.m. until 6 a.m., that's going to be your working hours. And that's during the day somewhere in the world. So it's not a problem.
Exactly.
But you should have that. Okay, so I work from 10 p.m. till 6 a.m. And that's your working hours. No. I'll give you. Mine are business hours from 8 a.m. until 5 p.m.
And you are strictly in that you never
Never. I mean,
change that?
I do change if I need to. But for example, if I need to have an appointment with the doctor, I will always try to make it before 8 or after 5. Any appointment. If I need to have any appointments, I will always try to be before 8, after 5.
As if you were an employee, for example. As if you had okay.
Yeah, so when people say, when are you available? When do you want? I said, well, if it's possible, for me, it's best if it's before 8 a.m. or after 5. Oh, it's not possible. Fine. If it's not possible, the closest possible to this time. Okay. So the closest possible to 8, the closest possible to 5, so that I don't interrupt my work in the middle of the day. Because that's
great
terrible.
Advice. Great
That's
advice.
terrible.
Yeah.
And then that's what I do. It's not always possible. So when it's not possible, it's okay. But then it's going to be in my schedule. And I know that I will not be available at that time period.
And also, can I ask something, like if you have any deadline strict, you will work more hours, for example? Because I do that. I change my working hours. If I have to work more hours in order to be able to meet a deadline, for example, I might work late at night in order to be able to meet a deadline. Or if sometimes, like, I'm not that productive in the morning, I have to stay like a couple of hours more after my working hours, for example, in order to finish something.
Yeah. I mean, if you have these working hours, and after a while it's going to be natural. For me nowadays, my mind knows that 8 a.m. is the time I start and 5 p.m. is the time I stop. But that doesn't mean that you don't have flexibility. Okay. That means only that you are under control. It's not the work that controls you. It's you who control the work. But you are still free. For example, if you're not feeling well one day, you can just, like, if your schedule allows it, if your deadlines allow it, you can just take the morning off, or work later as well. But if you are under control of your schedule, that's not going to be the rule. It's going to be the exception. So if you need to work later or work on the weekends, it's going to be an exception.
Can I ask what time do you wake up? Can I ask?
My alarm clock goes off at 6.
Okay, I thought so. I'm not that morning person, I have to admit.
Yeah, but that's it. Some people are not morning people, and then you just start later and finish later. Exactly. And also, something that is very important, you also have to know how much you charge, so that you know how long you have to work per day and how many days a week. You don't necessarily have to work 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. You can even work less than that if you have a good income. It's possible, but you have to be organized to know how much your hour is worth, to know how much your clients are paying you, to know how your productivity in terms of how much you can translate per hour. You need to know these things. These mathematics are important. Yeah, thanks, Maria. So that those things, it's control. You have to have control over your life. Working hours then, and it's also important having working hours, because then your client knows what to expect from you. If they send you an email after 5 p.m., for example, my clients know that if they send me an email after 5 p.m., I'm not going to answer. I'm going to answer the following day as soon as I get on my computer. And that's fine by them. They're not going to be stressed out. Now, when you don't have working hours, if you don't reply as soon as possible, they will not know if you are available, if you're not available, because they don't know what to expect from you. So this is very important. Keeping track of projects as well, no matter how you do. The original idea was to talk about that Virginia suggested, was to talk about tools for productivities. And I'm not a tool person because I'm naturally organized.
Okay.
I'm a very simple person in organizing things. So I have spreadsheets and they work for me just fine.
A lot of people in very big companies, they still have spreadsheets, so it's not something
it works for me.
It works, yeah.
Every organized. I have one spreadsheet for projects every year and one tab for each client, no matter if it's an agency or if it's a direct client. And in each tab, I have all the information about the projects, the name of the project, the name of the end client or the account, the name of the project manager that sent me that job, the number of the PO or the work order, whatever, the number of words or hours, if it's English into Portuguese, if it's Italian into Portuguese, if it's translation, if it's editing, everything that is
contact
important.
person, yeah, right. And about invoicing, do you use also spreadsheets or Word docs or what?
Invoicing, I used to use QuickBooks for a while.
So you use tools?
yeah, but I stopped actually because
Okay.
last year I had to cut on some expenses, so I just canceled my subscription and went back to Word. But Word, yes. What I do is my cousin is the person who takes care of all my branding.
Okay.
And all my visuals, everything. So he's the one who created my website. He's the one who...
This is very nice, very beautiful website, very beautiful logo. Also, the colors that you use are very nice.
He's my cousin, guys.
Hey, you can introduce,
Yes, but actually, I've sent him a lot of work because of that.
I bet, because you have a great website. And I told you that I really love your photos as well. You told me you will send
I have to send you the link. I'm like, I have to send Virginia the link. And my photographer, my last photographer, she's worth the mentioning as well. She's a Brazilian, of course, is Livia Conti. She's
great,
fantastic.
Yeah,
she's
fantastic. I can tell.
I like that's also something important. You have to have connections with good people. Have connections with good people. I value quality things, so I value quality visuals. I don't like doing stuff like, just doing them by doing, I like quality. I'm very strict. And my cousin usually says, okay, he's the only one who can work with me because I'm like, okay, I don't like that. I don't like this comma there, that comma.
I'm the same like you, and it's very difficult to find partners. Yeah, it's very difficult to find working partners.
But when you
but when you do, you stuck with them.
You have to stuck with them, just stuck with them. And so invoicing Word, I asked him to create one personalized, and that I have a model, a template, and that's the one I use with all my clients, with my logo, with my colors.
And do you have it in different languages, for example? Because I have the problem that I have to create everything in Greek and English.
But the thing is, here in Brazil, we don't invoice. Actually, we do invoice, but we have a particular... No, we do, but it's a particular system. It's electronically. Okay. So we go into the city council's website, and then we issue from there. Okay. So it's different. So my invoices are most of the time in English. That's when I have to
have international clients.
Yes, exactly.
The problem it is that I have individual private clients, and here in Greece, these have to be simple receipts and not invoices if they're private clients. So just to let you know that our live on Instagram, I'm going to share it. It will remain there, but it ended because it's only 1 hour. So we have a few minutes on Facebook and YouTube. We will share the live on IGTV on Instagram anyway. So sorry for that. That's very interesting because I have to create receipts in order to issue to individual and private clients, and in Greek, which makes very complicated the invoicing system for me. That's why I asked you, because it's too time consuming for me to create 2 templates in 2 different languages, and receipts and invoices, very complicated.
Yeah. But for example, the number of the invoice as well, I also add in so everything I need to know, it will be in that spreadsheet. Because, for example, that's where I control with colors as well. When I deliver the project, when the project is delivered, I color it in a specific color. When the project has been invoiced, another color. When the project has been paid, another color. Everything, it's going to be on this spreadsheet, because then if I have to consult something, it's easy to find. Also, I use a notepad. Besides the spreadsheet, I have a notepad by my computer. So as simple as this, for example. A
printed one, you mean your handwriting?
Yeah, where I write. Okay. Because then I will add all the projects I have to take care of and the dates, because then it's easily found and I can keep an eye out and it's handy. The
only problem for me, because I'm the same type as you, we have many similarities. I like to write things down and to keep things organized. Is when I travel that I have to move with this around.
Me too.
It's not very practical, to be honest. And I'm afraid that if someone steals my bag, for example, I will lose everything.
Let me just take you something to show.
Of course.
I have lots of things. So I have the notepad, and I also have like a weekly calendar, for example.
I love this. Yes, I have the same, but on my computer. I love this.
I like being like, I like to write and to have this is all on my side the entire time. It's always by my side. So I can look and see if I'm available, the things I have to do today, and everything. So here's
for those that are more techy, that they want
they can use
tools, which we can recommend some. I know that the most practical, for example, for calendar is the Google Calendar, because it's connected directly with your Gmail, and then you send the invitations. I do that also to organize the interviews here. I do also to organize my one-to-one consultations, because I have one-to-one mentoring sessions, and I have like 3 per day. Imagine that I have to have them in my calendar, and to get also notifications like ringing on my laptop whenever, like 1 hour, 30 minutes before, so as to be on time on that. And it's also connected directly with my Calendly link or Acuity link. So whatever tool you use in order to have your appointments booked. That is something to add, like for those that they want more techy things. But I'm really think that that very boosts your productivity. The things that Caroline suggests, I think that's the best solution for everyone.
I also have things on my phone, on my calendar, on my iCalendar, right? So I do have everything, of course, not work, but like projects. I don't have it there on my calendar, but I do have, for example, Live with Virginia. It's there. I have to record a podcast interview with Felipe. It's there. I have a doctor appointment. It's there, because if I'm not by the computer, I can easily access it. If I'm at the doctor, for example, at the doctor's, and I need to schedule an appointment, I have to check if I am available at that time, right?
That's very clever. And you have the same calendar on your laptop and or your PC, Mac, and also your iPhone, so they are connected directly.
They are all in sync. Yeah.
I will ask you something about that later, because I have a synchronization problem.
Okay,
that's technical. Let's not go into that. So you mentioned organization, working hours, track projects,
keeping track of projects.
Notepads, yes.
Another thing that is important is handling projects in order. In a deadline order. So if, for example, because most of the times we usually have multiple jobs going on at the same time with different deadlines, different clients, and so on. What I do is I handle them in order, no matter the deadline. So if I have one for today, one for tomorrow, for Monday, not for tomorrow because tomorrow is Saturday, for Monday, and another one for a month, by now, I will handle them in order, and I will deliver them as soon as I finish. Oh, Carol, but then the client is going to be spoiled and they are going to be expecting things from you. No, they are not. Believe me, I love delivering jobs earlier. As soon as I finish them, which most of the times is earlier, I deliver them right away, because then it's also the best for me, because then it's checked out of my head, it's checked out of my notepad, it's in a color delivered in my spreadsheet, and I also keep track of the projects on my inbox. So I only have things to be handled in my inbox. Everything that is in my inbox is in progress. I need to take care of. And when I deliver, I check it off.
And you archive the email?
I archive the email in a specific folder. So I have folders for clients. I archive it.
I do the same, yes.
And then it's done. And then you just forget about it, because you need to focus. Another important thing is you need to focus at one thing at a time. At least that's how my head works. I cannot focus. Well, there is not a human mind that can focus 100. That is proven, scientifically proven, that we are not built for focusing
one thing at a time.
100% at more than one thing at a time. You can focus, but it's not going to be 100%.
I have difficulty in focusing, as you said, because my mind is always in 2 or 3 things at the same time. But I've seen, as you said, like when I focus, finally, I have the most productivity. Like I finalize the projects easier and on time, so everything works pretty easier when I finally focus on something. But some days takes time. Some days it's easier.
But that's totally normal, even for me. That's how I work as well. Sometimes I have my blog, my podcast, the social media, the live with Virginia, and it's like, oh my God, what do I do first? Oh my God. And then you're like, okay, breathe. What do I need to do first? That's why you have priorities. Now I have a project that I need to handle and deliver in 1 hour. So I need to be 100% focused on it now. So I'm not going to be on social media or anything like that. So handle it in order, deliver right away, done and dusted, next. And that's also good, because it creates a good relationship with your client if you deliver earlier. They are going to be so appreciative of it. They're going to love you. They're going to love you and take you for the rest of their lives. So it's like I'm doing my job, guys. I'm just like, that's how it works for me. And I said, no, my God, you're like very good. You just always deliver earlier. But that's because it works for me. If I can't deliver early, I'm straight with them. I say, okay, that's not going to work. And sometimes also we get late. It happens, but just be straight with your client. Wow, it's another conversation.
I was about to ask you if you set your deadlines, or if, because you work a lot with agencies, or if you accept their terms and conditions.
They usually suggest, obviously they all suggest. If it works for me, fine. I'm not picky. It works, fine, it works. If it doesn't, with agencies, if it doesn't, I tell them, okay, that's impossible. I can't do that. And then they choose if they extend the deadline, or most of the times they do, because most of the times they have a buffer, or they just assign it to another translator. If it's impossible, what can I do? And agencies are not going to be rush fees, not going to pay rush fees. Now with direct clients, on the other hand, you can charge rush fees. So if you can't handle a project, but you are willing to work later or on the weekend, you just say, okay, that won't work for me, but I can make it work if I usually charge a 20% rush fee, because then I'm going to be working later than usual, or I do have to
ask yes.
Go ahead.
What was the percentage of the agencies and direct clients that you work, in order to understand the deadlines also, if you have a flexibility? Because I think with the direct clients we have more flexibility when it comes to deadline. No.
No,
I do.
No, not for me. Not for me. I work with a law firm, for example, and it's always like those huge contracts for when can you deliver it?
Yesterday.
Yeah, really? Okay, I can deliver it next week, but I know that's not good for you. So, but well, anyway, what I do is when they ask me to suggest a deadline, what I do is I suggest my deadline, normal deadline, and then I say, if you need it earlier, I have to charge a rush fee. Some of the times they say, oh, okay, yeah, it's fine, that deadline. And they change their minds. It's not urgent anymore.
Yeah.
Yes, it's not, suddenly it's not urgent anymore. But most of the time they said, they say in the email, Carol, we need a quote for this, let's say, Carol, we need a quote for this contract, and we need it ASAP. Go ahead and charge your rush fee. They already say it in the email because they know how it works. So if necessary, go ahead and charge a rush fee. Okay. Everything needs to be scheduled. Everything. So we need to schedule your extra work, for example, billing, invoicing, social media. If you have to social media channels you have to handle, to manage, you need to schedule that time. Marketing, prospecting, everything. As I said, I schedule lives. It's everything is scheduled, and I need a deadline for everything, because otherwise you're going to.
Yeah. I cannot hold myself and ask you, do you schedule them during your working hours, or do you think this is an extra work that you put in them aside?
No, for me, it's during my working hours, because it's work, and I really value my free time. It's work. Even though I don't get paid for it, I consider it work. I don't lose my precious personal time to do those stuff, because then you lose control. And that's also a good thing, because then it makes you go fast. So if you go on social media, for example, you set aside, let's say, I usually do those things in the morning. I open my email, check everything, organize everything, see what arrived from yesterday, do whatever I have to do ASAP, I do. And then, okay, now I'm going on social media, check everything, if I have notifications, if I have to share something, if I have to do something. And then all done, I close them and just ignore them for the rest of the day if I have a busy schedule. Of course, if I don't have a busy schedule and I do want to go on social media, I feel like, that's what I say, I'm organized. But some people are not, they're not controlled enough to do this, to go on Facebook, for example, check something and just close it. They just get lost in there. So that's what we can't do. If you get lost with social media, you have to control it. So you set a time for 1 hour from 9 to 10, for example, in the morning every day. And that's it, nothing else. You just be strict with yourself.
Yeah, that's very helpful that you share that with people, because I cannot do that, because I really like social media. So I do them like spending my free time sometimes, because I really like to be there. But I really advise people to do this. That what you said, that you have to have a scheduled time. And if you want tools on that, there are so many tools to schedule social media. So that can be automatically or either more organized. There are so many tools to schedule even monthly posts. If someone is into that, I don't know if you are doing that.
I do schedule them. Yes, on Facebook. Since I have a page, we can schedule directly on Facebook.
Okay.
And for Twitter and LinkedIn and Instagram and I think that's it. I use Hootsuite.
That's great. That's another tool. Hootsuite, I've heard it's some expensive a bit, but it's still the best.
I don't pay.
Okay, you use the free version. Okay.
I use the free version. It's just fine. It works just fine for me.
Okay, I will try that.
It's okay. And when I need to schedule, but I just say, as you said, I also like social media. So you are going to see me on my free time on social media, but then it's not going to be scheduling things. That's what I mean. It's going to be something extra. Okay. So I'll be retweeting, I'll be sharing things on Instagram stories,
connecting with people, networking,
talking to people. Yes, that's like relaxed time. It's not work time.
Exactly. For me, it's relaxed time. Yeah, for me.
Yes, it's not scheduling. I need to schedule the posts. It's more like something relaxing.
And do you schedule once per month or once per week? How do you do the scheduling for social media?
Well, I'm getting back on track, as I said, so I'm still getting to see how it's going to be now, but it used to be like this. It used to be like this. Once a day on Facebook. On Twitter, I think it was like 3 times a day because it allows for more things. But I really respect my followers. I don't like giving them a lot of information, like flooding their feeds. So and on LinkedIn, it's less than that. It's occasionally and just pretty much things that are created by me. So if it's a live, if it's something from my blog, if it's something from my podcast. And on Instagram, it's my most personal channel. It's less professional. It's in the borderline. I try to keep it professional, but it's more personal. So I have pictures of my trips. I share personal stuff, my opinions.
Yeah, it happens because they have different purposes. Social media has a different purpose, so this can happen. So let's continue with a bit quickly with your tips, and then we can wrap up. And if people have more questions, we can follow up in the group, Mentoring for Translators, later.
Yeah. Let's see. Email archiving, as I said, keeping things that need to be handled on the inbox, having folders. Folder structure on the computer. Also, you need to be organized, like each folder by client, for example, by project, by month, by year. You need to find whatever works for you. Focus, as we said, working chunks of time. I think it's also important. And that doesn't mean I work straight from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. and I don't get up and stretch. And I don't eat, I don't have lunch. Of course, I do those things. And you need to take breaks to keep your mind focused. You cannot, it's not possible to keep your mind focused. And talking about tools, there are some tools that you can use to keep your focus. The Pomodoro technique is one of the most famous ones. I don't like it. Me
neither.
20 minutes. I cannot do that. What I do when I need to be crazy productive and focused, what I need is I work in chunks of 1 hour. So I work for 1 hour and I stop, go to the toilet, have some fill my water bottle, check email or whatever. And then another hour. That's what you can do as well. And that's also good for knowing how much you translate per hour. It's good to know in that specific project because it depends on the project, obviously. Do not keep open tabs on your computer, a lot of open tabs. Keep only the tabs you were working with. And I think it's important in my case to keep my email open. I do keep. Some people do not like because they think it's distracting. But I think my clients have priority. So whenever they send me an email, I do reply promptly because I think this is extremely important. So my email is there open, but I just keep open whatever I'm working with at the moment.
Okay.
Cell phone notifications. Some people get distracted. For me, it's actually useful because I have
them.
I have a look. I see if it needs my attention. If it needs my attention, I go there and solve it. If it doesn't, I just ignore it because I'm I have control over myself, but people do not have control over themselves. So then you just turn them off.
What helps me, notification, I don't have sound notification.
Yeah,
I have only just notification. So whenever I want to check if something happens, like if I have an email or client, I just check my screen. It doesn't distract me with the sound. So that's a very clever way to use notification. And also it helps me to have a very like turn around to the emails, responding to the emails very quickly.
Yes, exactly. Because then that's what I said. Mine is in silent too. It's just push notifications, right? Exactly. You check the screen goes up, turns on. You check, you see if it's an email from a client. You go there and answer. Exactly. And if it's, I don't know, a client that contacted you on Facebook. It can be, or a colleague that wants you to work with them. You just check, okay, I need to answer because it's job, it's something interesting, I need to answer right away. And then you answer, and it's okay for us who have control over ourselves. But if you don't, you just, I know people, for example,
don't use them.
Don't use them. Forget about, I know people who actually put their cell phones away. They leave their cell phones in another room. So if that's necessary, just do it. You have to know what works for you. And as I said, those are my tips. But as I said, we have to adapt to this new reality. What we can't do is keep expecting that the reality that was before, what worked before, is going to keep working. So, for example, I used to stop at 5, go to the gym, and relax, and then return, have my dinner. That's not a reality anymore. And I cannot keep thinking that I need to make it work, because it won't. For example, I haven't been exercising, and I learned to accept the fact that it's okay for me, because that's not going to work for me right now. And whenever I'm ready, I'll be ready. The good thing is that, as I said, I was like totally down in the dumps for some time, and I couldn't even take care of my blog. My blog was left hanging.
Okay, this can happen,
My podcast, it's okay. I learned to accept that. We have to accept when things do not work, and be okay with that. We cannot stress over things we cannot control.
Okay, that's very helpful. And if I can wrap up the tips that you already shared with us, it's focus, which is very interesting. We have to do another live how to become focused. Organization skills, you went very detailed in that. So people who want to find out your organization tips, they can watch the recording. Flexibility and adapting to the situation. Focus, priorities, scheduling, everything from post, social media, invoicing, administrative stuff, archive, use specific folders for your project and also your emails. Breaks, take breaks. Do not have open tabs. You don't want to see my screen right now. I have so many tabs. Notification on your email, push notification, not sound notification. And some tools we mentioned is Hootsuite, QuickBooks, Pomodoro, so you can find even more. If you have any question on the topic, the only last question we didn't answer is how do you translate faster? Is that
yes? What's your unconventional tip for translating faster? Well, I don't know what you mean by unconventional. I actually don't like to translate quickly. Okay. I am usually very careful when I'm translating. I don't mean like rushing into my translation. I don't do that. You need to be focused and work at your own speed. That's I don't know if they meant another thing like a tool I can
maybe
use.
The years of experience, they help you to translate faster, the years of experience, and also having a specialization, like if you translate the same text at the same time, so you will become faster if you want it or not, because you do not search for terminology, for example, or a specific topic. So these are tips that might help you to become faster. And also Caroline also said with us, like not having tabs open, to have organization. All these things help you also to translate faster, to take breaks, or to not have many tabs open, or to have everything scheduled. So these things also, all of them together make a process that helps you also become more productive in the exact translation process. But if you want more tips, who was Francis on that? Francis asked it. If you, Francis, want more details on that, maybe cat tools are the answers, and maybe having opened the tabs of your dictionaries at the same time, so as not to search to find the last moment, and also to have figured out which dictionaries and online platforms helps you to become faster. And I don't know if your specialization helps you with machine translation, which is something that I don't encourage people to do, but I know that there are translators that it helps them to translate faster. It depends on the specialization. But if you want to go even deeper on that, we can arrange another session, or you can ask directly Caroline. She's a member of the Mentoring for Translators group. So you can find Caroline in the group. You can contact with her directly. She will follow up with your comments. So if you have any other question, please do the comment section, because we are live already 1 hour and a half. Thank you so much, Caroline, for being here. It was such a great discussion. I bet that we could discuss like a couple of hours.
I could keep on going. I could.
I love it. I don't know about the members here, but I love it. So thank you so much for the great tips. People found really good the idea to go live on Instagram. So if you are into that, to schedule that as well, we can figure out how to do it and on what topic. So thank you all for being here with us. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for interactivity, for being with us, for your support. Thank you, Caroline. It was such an honor, and I'm so glad we met again after 1 year.
Me too.
And I hope to meet up again in person. Thank you, Denise says it was great. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone.
See you next Friday with a great session this time. So bye-bye for now, and see you in the group.